Okay, let's dive right in. We're going to follow the money, your money, and see exactly what happens after it goes to the government. This is all about the system that's supposed to keep all that spending in check.
It's a question we all ask ourselves, right? You pay your taxes, the money just kind of vanishes into this big national treasury. But what happens after that? Well, if everything's working the way it should, that money is actually working for you.
It becomes like the very foundation of our society. It's funding the schools that are shaping our kids' futures.
It's powering the hospitals and clinics that take care of us when we need it most.
And of course, it's building the roads, the bridges, all the stuff that literally connects us. They say it's the price we pay for civilized society. But here's the kicker. That's the multi-billion-dollar question, isn't it? With so much money flowing through so many different agencies, who's the guardian? Who's making sure it's all on the level? Well, to answer that, we've got to start with the basics. What exactly is this massive thing we're talking about? So, at its very core, the government is just the system we've all agreed on to manage our collective stuff, and that includes our tax money. Its whole job is to take those funds and turn them into things like public services and social order. But you can imagine managing all that cash comes with a ton of responsibility. So, who are these guardians? Let's meet the official watchdogs, the financial detectives whose whole job is to protect our money. Okay, so almost every country in the world has something called a Supreme Audit Institution, or an SAI. Just think of it as the top dog, the highest authority when it comes to government auditing. Their entire reason for existing is to be an independent check on how the government spends money. And right here in the Philippines, that institution is the Commission on Audit. You've probably heard of them as the COA. These are the public's eyes and ears, basically, inside the government's giant financial machine. And their mission? It's actually way broader than you might think. It's not just about catching mistakes after the money's already gone. Nope. It's about making sure that money is collected properly in the first place, that every single peso spent is legal, and that the whole system is safe from fraud. So, how on earth do they do it? I mean, how does a single group of auditors tackle something as huge as a national budget? Well, they start by asking three really basic but really powerful questions. Let's peek inside their toolkit. First up is the financial audit. This is the classic question your accountant would ask. Okay, where did the money go? This is all about just verifying the numbers. Are the financial reports accurate? Do they actually match what's in the bank accounts? This right here is the foundation of all accountability. Then you've got the compliance audit. Now, this one asks a totally different question. Were the rules followed? See, it's not enough to just account for the money. It has to be spent exactly according to the law. That means everything from procurement rules to the specific things listed in the national budget. This is all about legality. And finally, we have what might be the most important one of all, the performance audit. This one asks the toughest question. Was it worth it? I mean, think about it. You can have perfectly balanced books and follow every single rule, but if a 100 million peso program didn't actually help anybody, was it a success? This value for money audit checks if a project was actually effective. Now, let's be real, auditors can't check every single receipt. The government is just way too big. So they have to be smart about it. They have to think like detectives, right? And focus on the places where problems are most likely to be hiding. This is what's called a risk-based approach. So instead of auditing randomly and hoping they find something, they concentrate their firepower on high-risk areas. Things like massive infrastructure projects or huge social welfare programs where the sheer amount of money flowing through creates more opportunity for things to go sideways. And what are they looking for exactly? Well, these are the big red flags. We're talking about everything from outright fraud and misappropriation to, more subtle stuff like unauthorized spending or maybe revenue that was collected but somehow never made it back to the treasury. And this gets to the real nitty-gritty, the actual grunt work of auditing. These folks are in the trenches, man. They're tracing receipts, they're confirming bank balances, digging through mountains of legal contracts, and sometimes even physically going out to inspect projects to see if they were built the way they were supposed to be. So you might be thinking, okay, this kind of sounds like any other audit. But auditing the government has some really unique quirks that make it completely different from auditing, say, a private company. Okay, here's where government finance gets a little weird, but it's super important. It actually runs on a dual system. So for their big official reports, they use a standard international method that accountants everywhere would recognize. But for day-to-day spending, they use this special obligation-based system. Think of it like a safety lock. It makes it basically impossible for an official to spend a single peso that hasn't already been approved in the budget. It's a key safeguard against overspending. And this all comes down to these unique features. See, government auditing isn't just a good idea or a best practice like in a business. It's actually written into the Constitution. And the main goal isn't profit, it's public accountability. And maybe the most important part? The final audit reports are public documents. They're out there for any citizen, for you to read.
So let's wrap this up. What's the bottom line here? Well, government auditing, led by our own COA, is really the main safeguard we have for our tax money. They use those three key tools, the financial, compliance, and performance audits, to make sure our money is spent legally, effectively, and is totally accounted for. But here's the final thought I want to leave you with. The COA, they can provide the facts. They can give us the data, point out all the red flags, and put it all out there in the open for everyone to see. But an audit report on its own doesn't actually change anything. That final step, using that information to hold our leaders accountable, well, that's a job for all of us. So the real question is, are we paying attention?